time to hear a story, huh?
The hardest thing for any franchise to do is to keep up with the times. It is always a battle of what the experience should be, juxtaposed against the idea of what fans want it to be. This is especially hard for a game like Borderlands, as the concept is representative of the time. So much of the charm stems from the humor and gameplay design, both of which have seen massive shifts since its inception. This battle is one I saw players frequently cite as a reason for Borderlands 3's native reception. It both missed the boat, and instead of pushing the franchise forward, merely echoed the same jokes people made several years prior. Much to Gearbox Software's credit, they took this feedback to heart with Borderlands 4. It pushed the franchise in a new direction without forgetting its past. Given the issues with change, can it prove Borderlands is still a relevant franchise, or does it merely make new mistakes?
You weren't ever going to leave. For Kairos was a prison, ruled by a tyrant made immortal by alien technology. They called him the Timekeeper, and his order was nothing less than absolute. What was the secret, you ask, that justified keeping an entire planet in chains? A vault at the center of his seat of power. Whispers told of unknowable treasures locked away inside.
Even if players love specific Borderlands characters, this has never been a franchise defined by narrative. At its core, you had a bunch of misfits fighting random goons as they chase after some kind of vault. This overview still holds true for Borderlands 4. Players can choose one of 4 characters, including a new Siren, who hopes to topple the Timekeeper and ultimately open his vault. As for the experience, it's something of a mixed bag. On a basic level, this adventure is on the more serious side, at least for a franchise like Borderlands. Characters like Rush are more grounded, featuring quirks like wanting to be that dependable dude. In a lot of ways, I appreciate this approach. It shows Borderlands 4 wants to be something different, even if side missions feature characters more typical of the franchise. I just don't think it has a particularly interesting story to tell. A lot of the narrative repeats the same beats we've explored in the past. I mean, we are even repeating the mysterious Siren reaches out thing. Though, what ultimately holds it back are multiple major threats. Basically, you are tasked with defeating 3 major enemies before going after the Timekeeper. Each section focuses on a particular threat. As a result, each enemy feels somewhat fleshed out. I just can't say any one of them hooked me in the same way several characters from the past did. The closest was Soul, though that was likely due to my history with Destiny 2. Not only is Soul written like Callus, at least the parts I liked, along with another one of the major antagonists literally being named Callus, they share a voice actor. Even the main narrative lacked the same kind of hook. Don't get me wrong, there are intriguing bits, not to mention the ending offering an interesting setup for things to come. It just felt like an average action game with the occasional joke. However, the same can't be said about gameplay.
Eager begging knife!
At its core, Borderlands 4 retains much of the franchise's charm. The various foundries still exist, complete with their own or new gimmicks. These include reloading a gun by turning the old one into a throwable bomb, chargeable lasers or blasters, along with a wide variety of new ideas. I personally like grenades being expanded to include throwable knives, other explosive types like rockets, to just being a powerful laser. It's a good way to balance various loot types. Rockets no longer need to compete with pistols, shotguns, automatic weapons, or even snipers. They just fight things in the grenade category, which also allows them to be a bit more powerful due to cooldowns. Great choice overall, as well as the general push towards balance. Just messing around, I found a lot of options that might not be meta, though we're able to compete competently. And there are already a number of extremely overpowered builds that reward those who bother with the chase. That said, the chase did not feel as compelling as previous games. For example, when I beat the final boss, I got about 15 total drops. Like, 4 were purple, 0 legendary, and it was pretty underwhelming. There was a section after with 4 chests, none of which had a purple. It is a far cry from the highs of General Knott's vault, or the loot explosions that the franchise has come to be known for. I'd also give it a pass if it was quality over quantity, yet it really isn't. The best example of this is the post-story Ultimate Vault Hunter mission. Here you need to beat a story mission with new wildcard mechanics. In this case, I got defeated enemies turned into singularities, and a large portion of them having regeneration modifiers. It didn't make the game hard as much as tedious. I don't even mind mechanics like regeneration or having enemies turn into singularities. It doesn't just change the gameplay loop, it forces me to reevaluate the situation. However, this was just excessive. The singularity range was massive. I swear 30% of the enemies regenerated, and the missions are surprisingly long. Worse still, the rewards did not feel worth it. This mission took about 40 minutes and gave 5 purple drops total. By contrast, players bemoaned Destiny for being stingy with loot, yet I could easily exceed that many purple drops in a similar time frame. Trust me, I ran the numbers extensively for my review of Edge of Fate. I also don't mean this as praise for Destiny either. I just want to feel rewarded, especially when the mission itself is not what I describe as fun. Thankfully, there are items worth the chase. Right now there's an overpowered Vet's knife build. It can drop bosses in literal seconds. Perfect if you want the classic B and conference call power fantasy from Borderlands 2. It's something my friend mentioned after spending 8 hours grinding for a knife with the correct ability. The only real downside is how Gearbots will choose to balance the game long term. As fun as these builds are, they don't make for the most healthy endgame experience. At least, I don't want to play with someone who can one-shot every boss, nor do I feel the desire to chase various options when I'm already optimized enough. I imagine we will see changes. I mean, Borderlands 2 cared a lot less about balance, and even that combo was addressed at some point. It just becomes a question of what and how. Plus, it makes the whole weekly rotation thing pointless, and forces them to balance upcoming content around these extremely powerful options. There is no point in Pearlescent Rarity returning if it's already outclassed. Same with the upcoming bosses and what have you. Outside of the narrative and gear chase, there's a surprisingly large world to explore. Instead of various focused maps, is a couple massive locations to explore. At first, I found myself really enjoying the setup. I could summon my vehicle from anywhere, there are plenty of secrets to find, complete with engaging side quests. Many of these captured the original Borderlands charm. At least I could totally see the massage melee quests appearing in the first 2 games. Come the end, it started to lose a lot of its charm. In a lot of ways, the gameplay choices feel dated. It isn't just being tired of spacious environments that feel rather empty, it's the entire approach. For instance, I found navigation to be a slog. This was largely due to several objectives only being accessible down a single path. If I took the wrong one, I'd eventually come to an obstacle I could not get past. There was no option to scale the wall like newer Legend of Zelda games. I also couldn't use the grappling hook ability to forge my own path forward. In fact, there were so many invisible walls I don't think it would work regardless. Instead, I just had to keep following the path forward. And even this would be acceptable if other games didn't do it better. Several Assassin's Creed games and Monster Hunter Wilds have an auto-follow feature, something where I could just tell the game to take me there, instead of constantly having to activate the echolocation path feature. Several improvements are also hidden in the options. Echolocation duration is one, auto mantle with forward is another. It is the first game in a while where I felt the need to really examine these options to make my desired experience. Worse still, it lacks a number of things I'd like to see. Some are coming, such as the field of view on console feature, though others are just strange. Something basic like a mini-map would go far, especially when the option already exists. Well, kind of. There's another hidden option that reveals a radar for enemies, though an option 2, if nothing else, showed the echolocation path forward would go extremely far. Somehow, even inventory management feels woefully dated. I can boot up the first Ascendant and easily dictate what type of loot is worth keeping. Everything that doesn't fit a very specific set is turned into materials. It works extremely well, as does the marking system. I push a button and it's favorited. I can then keep pushing it to cycle to specific icons to easily identify it. Here, I can push the mark button to pick a specific type. Some even have a cool effect, such as teleporting it to the bank. Great option, even if it's rather cumbersome. However, junk has a way to go. I can easily set something as junk, though I don't see an option to instantly sell or dismantle it and sell the scraps. Instead, I just seem to be able to quickly sell it at a vending machine. A lot of the options also require holding a button for a bit. I could understand something like the junk filter, though it's limited to things like drop. It takes like 3 seconds of holding down the button to actually drop something, though I wouldn't be shocked if there was a random option hidden somewhere to change that too. And I know these are relatively minor complaints, it just really holds the experience back. Kind of like the random fetch quests or decode missions where you need to hold and transport a bots to a decode station somewhere across the map. Designs that players have grown wary of and developers have solved years ago.
Maybe I didn't quite bring enough explosives. First time for everything. Huh.
Looks weaker, at least.
Speaking of problems, Borderlands 4 has a sizable amount of performance issues. I played on base PlayStation 5 and frequently saw frame drops. And not even reasonable things like 400 items dropping in a second, just progressing around the world. When playing online, I also frequently experienced skips. I played the entire campaign with Ruben, who I've frequently collaborated with, and never had such a problem before. It's also annoying in a game like this due to how quickly things can result in negative outcomes. No one wants to miss a mechanic because the game randomly decides to change. Steam already has over 15,000 reviews, and about 30% of them are negative. A quick once over shows that most of them are regarding performance issues. Above all, I'm happy Gearbox tried something new with the Borderlands franchise. It feels like a new take on the classic model over simply trying to recapture the magic of the second game. Still, I think they could have achieved a better balance. Several characters and locations simply lacked the charm the franchise was known for. There was less overall variety, sterile designs, to everything looking polished next to its gritty predecessors. Above all though, it's just a shame so many of the negatives stem from quality of life. Such problems are becoming increasingly common, to the point where players feel actively discouraged from experiencing the original launch. I mean, performance will likely improve, things will be rebalanced, loot drops can be increased if they so choose, to so much more being on the way. It's just a shame this stance is becoming increasingly common. One where I'm not so much excited for what content the future holds, and more hopeful it eventually addresses these concerns. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and for more content, please subscribe.